The grocery store was crowded that morning. People rushing, carts clattering, a dull buzz of voices echoing through the aisles. Amid it all, 18-year-old Maya, wearing her faded pink scarf and carrying a small list in her trembling hands, tried to count her coins carefully. Every rupee mattered to her. She had promised her little brother she'd bring home bread and milk before going to work. She stood in the checkout line, eyes down, trying not to notice the stares that often followed her old clothes. That's when a harsh voice cut through the noise. "Ma'am, you can't pay with that. This is a store, not a charity." The cashier barked, heads turned. Near the front counter stood an elderly woman, her silver hair slightly messy, her hands shaking as she fumbled with her purse. She looked confused, embarrassed. "I'm sorry, dear," she said softly. "I thought I had enough. I just needed some rice and bread." The cashier rolled his eyes. "Then maybe you should check your pockets next time before wasting our time." Laughter rippled from a few bystanders. Someone whispered, "Old people these days, always begging." Maya's chest tightened. The sight hit her like a knife. She saw her own grandmother in that trembling figure, alone, scared, humiliated. For a moment she hesitated. She barely had enough money for her own family. But something inside her, something stronger than fear, pushed her forward. "Please stop talking to her like that," Maya said firmly, stepping closer. The cashier glared at her. "Mind your own business, girl. You gonna pay for her too?" Maya looked at the small pile of groceries. A bag of rice, a loaf of bread, a carton of milk. She swallowed hard, then nodded. "Yes, I will." A murmur spread through the crowd. The cashier's eyebrows shot up, half amused, half shocked. "You? You look like you can barely pay for yourself." "I said I'll pay," Maya repeated, her voice trembling but steady. The old woman looked at her, eyes wide and watery. No, dear. You don't have to," but Maya smiled softly. "It's okay, Grandma. Please let me." She counted her last few coins, every sound of metal hitting the counter echoing painfully in her ears. The cashier sighed, bagged the items, and shoved them forward. "Whatever. Next customer." Maya handed the groceries to the old woman. "Here you go, ma'am." The woman took them slowly, her hands shaking. "Thank you, child, but why? You don't even know me." Maya's eyes softened. "Because one day I might need someone to help me too." The old woman's eyes filled with tears. She opened her mouth to speak but stopped as if words weren't enough. Instead, she gently touched Maya's cheek and whispered, "God bless you, my dear." The people who had laughed earlier now stood silent. Some looked ashamed, others simply looked away. Maya turned, ready to leave, her empty wallet tucked back into her torn bag. As she stepped out of the store, she didn't notice the tall man standing near the exit, watching everything unfold. His gray suit and polished shoes made him look out of place among the shoppers. His eyes, however, weren't cold, they were filled with something else. Recognition. He followed her out quietly, stopping near the parking lot. The old woman caught up behind him, smiling faintly. "Did you see that, Henry?" she whispered. He nodded slowly. "Yes, Mother. I did." What Maya didn't know was that the woman she had just helped wasn't just any elderly lady, and the man who had watched her would soon change her life in ways she could never imagine. Maya walked down the cracked sidewalk, clutching the empty bag that once held her family's groceries. The wind brushed against her scarf and she felt the weight of what she'd just done. Her brother would be waiting at home, probably hungry, and she didn't even have enough money left for bus fare. Still, inside her chest there was a quiet warmth, the kind that comes only from doing the right thing. Behind her, the tall man in the gray suit, Henry Collins, followed at a distance. His mother, the elderly woman from the store, walked beside him slowly, her groceries now safe in his arms. "She gave everything she had, Henry," the old woman whispered, her eyes glistening. "Even when she had so little." Henry nodded, his face thoughtful. "I saw it, Mother. I've never seen something like that in years." He wasn't just any man. Henry was the owner of Collins Group, one of the city's largest companies. A business that had built his fortune but drained his faith in people. Too many lies, too much greed, too many people pretending to care. But that girl, she was different, genuine, brave. As Maya turned down a quiet street, she suddenly heard footsteps behind her. She turned around, startled. Henry smiled gently and raised his hand. "Excuse me, miss," he said. Maya hesitated. "Yes?" He walked closer, his mother by his side. "You dropped this," Henry said, holding out a small coin. Maya blinked. It wasn't hers. "Oh, thank you, but that's not—" Henry chuckled softly. "I know, but it was the only excuse I could find to talk to you." Maya looked puzzled. "Talk to me? Why?" His mother stepped forward, her voice trembling with warmth. "You helped me, dear. You stood up for me when no one else would. You didn't just give me food, you gave me back my dignity." Maya's eyes softened. "Please don't thank me. I only did what anyone should have done." Henry shook his head. "No, not everyone would. Most people just watch." There was a pause. The street was quiet except for the sound of wind against the trees. Then Henry asked, "Do you live nearby?" Maya nodded slowly. "Just a few blocks away. With my younger brother." Henry glanced at his mother, then back at her. "Would you allow me to drop you home? It's not safe for a young girl to walk alone with so little light left." Maya hesitated. Years of struggling had made her wary of strangers, especially well-dressed ones. But the kind eyes of the old woman eased her worries. "All right," she said softly. They walked together toward her neighborhood, a place where the streetlights flickered and small children played barefoot in the dust. The contrast between her world and theirs was sharp, yet Henry didn't look disgusted or uncomfortable. He looked curious, thoughtful. When they reached her small rented room, Maya turned with a smile. "Thank you for walking me here." Henry's mother touched her arm gently. "May I ask, what do you do, dear?" "I work at a cafe in the mornings," Maya replied, "and I help clean a tailor shop in the evenings. My brother's still in school, so I try to manage." Henry listened silently, his respect for her growing with every word. Before leaving, his mother said softly, "You have a beautiful heart, my child. I hope one day kindness returns to you multiplied." Maya smiled shyly. "That's all I wish for." They waved goodbye and Maya entered her small home. Her brother ran up to her, hugging her waist. "Did you get the bread?" She hesitated, then smiled sadly. "Not today, little one. But don't worry. We'll have something tomorrow." Her brother nodded trustingly and she felt tears sting her eyes. She didn't know that her tomorrow was already changing. Because outside, Henry stood beside his car, deep in thought. "Mother," he said slowly, "I think I know what we need to do." The old woman smiled knowingly. "You're thinking the same as I am, aren't you?" He nodded. "Yes, I want to help her, but not out of pity, because the world needs people like her to shine. Maybe we can give her a chance." The old woman's eyes sparkled. "Then let's do it, son." As the car drove away, Maya looked out her window at the same fading headlights, unaware that they carried her destiny with them. Sometimes, the smallest act of goodness plants the seed of a miracle, and for Maya that seed had just been planted. The next morning, sunlight slipped through the cracks of Maya's small window. She rubbed her tired eyes and glanced at the clock, 6 a.m. Time to start another long day. Her brother still slept peacefully on the thin mattress beside her, a faint smile on his face despite the hunger that had kept them both awake the night before. Quietly, she fixed her scarf, tied her hair, and stepped outside to head for the cafe where she worked washing dishes. The air was cool, the streets nearly empty. Maya didn't know that just a few blocks away a black car was parked waiting. Inside it, Henry sat with a thoughtful expression. He had spent the whole night replaying yesterday's scene in his mind. Maya's courage, her selflessness, her humility. His mother, Eleanor Collins, had convinced him that some people deserved not just help, but opportunity. When he saw Maya walking toward the bus stop, Henry got out of the car and called gently, "Maya." She turned, startled. "Mr. Henry? What are you doing here?" He smiled warmly. "I wanted to see you again. May I walk with you to work?" Maya blinked, unsure if she'd heard right.
"Walk with me? Why?"
"Because I'd like to talk," he said simply. So they walked together down the narrow lane. Maya clutched her old bag nervously, while Henry observed the little details around. Children playing in the dust, women fetching water, the scent of fresh bread from a nearby stall. "You work at the cafe near the main road, right?" he asked. "Yes," Maya replied softly. "It's not much, but it helps us survive." Henry nodded. "Do you ever think about doing something else?" "Something bigger?" She laughed quietly. "Everyone dreams, sir. But dreams don't pay rent. Her words made Henry pause. There was no bitterness in her tone, only quiet acceptance, a kind of strength he rarely saw in anyone. They reached the cafe, a small place with peeling paint and a faded sign that read Sunny Meals. Maya smiled politely. "Thank you for walking with me. I should get to work now." Henry nodded, but before she went in, he said, "Maya, if I told you there's a job that could change your life, would you take it?" She frowned. "I don't understand." "Just think about it," Henry said gently. "Meet me at the park near your home this evening. I'll explain everything there." Maya hesitated, but something about his sincerity made her nod. "All right." That evening, as the sky turned orange, Maya arrived at the park. Henry and his mother were already there, seated on a wooden bench. Eleanor waved at her warmly. "There you are, dear. Come sit." Maya sat down shyly. Henry leaned forward, his voice calm but serious. "Maya, I told you I own a company. We work on community projects, schools, shelters, and food drives. I've been looking for someone honest to help coordinate a new outreach program for underprivileged families. Yesterday I saw someone who embodied true compassion, you." Maya's eyes widened. "Me, but I'm not educated enough, sir." "I only finished basic school." Henry smiled. "Skills can be taught. Kindness can't. You have what we can't buy, heart." For a moment Maya couldn't speak. The idea seemed too big, too impossible. But why me?" Eleanor touched her hand gently. "Because you gave without expecting anything. That's the kind of person the world needs more of." Tears welled up in Maya's eyes. She looked down, trying to hold them back. "If I can help others like you helped me, then yes. I'll do it." Henry's smile grew. "Then welcome to the Collins Foundation." Maya covered her mouth, overwhelmed. The thought of working for something that actually mattered, something that could change lives, it felt like a dream. Henry continued, "We'll arrange your training, and your brother's education will be taken care of. You won't have to struggle alone anymore." Maya's tears finally fell. "I don't know how to thank you." Eleanor smiled softly. "Just keep being who you are, dear. That's thanks enough." As the sun dipped behind the trees, Maya felt a new light rise inside her. For the first time in years, she saw a future, not filled with struggle, but with hope. And as she walked home that evening, her heart whispered a silent promise: one day, I'll help others the way they helped me. What Maya didn't know was that her kindness would soon face its greatest test yet, and the choices she made next would touch even more lives. The next few weeks felt like a dream for Maya. Every morning, instead of scrubbing dishes at the cafe, she now walked into the elegant glass building of the Collins Foundation, a place filled with smiling faces, bright halls, and the feeling of purpose. Her new job was simple but meaningful, visiting families in need, distributing food supplies, and helping arrange school support for poor children. At first, she felt out of place among the well-dressed employees tapping on computers. She still wore her old faded scarf and carried her worn-out bag. But Henry always reminded her, "Maya, it's not your clothes that define you, it's your compassion." Eleanor, Henry's mother, became like family to her. The elderly woman often invited Maya and her brother Allie to dinner. It was the first time in years that Maya had eaten at a table filled with laughter and warmth. But with success often comes envy, and not everyone at the foundation was happy to see a poor girl suddenly rise. One afternoon, while sorting files, Maya overheard two co-workers whispering near the pantry. "She's just a charity case," one said. "The boss probably hired her out of pity." "Exactly," the other sneered. "She doesn't even have a degree. What does she know about management?" Maya froze. The words stung, though she pretended not to care. She tried to focus on her work, but the doubts began to creep in. Maybe they're right. Maybe I don't belong here. That evening, Henry noticed her silence. "You've been quiet all day. Is something wrong?" Maya hesitated, then shook her head. "No, sir. I'm fine." Henry gave a faint smile. "Maya, I've learned one thing in life. When good people rise, others will always question it. But the only way to silence doubt is through action. Prove them wrong, not with words, but with results." His words settled in her heart like a spark of courage. A few days later, the foundation was preparing for a charity event in the city's poorest district, a chance to provide food, clothes, and school materials to over 100 families. Henry had placed Maya in charge of organizing everything, It was her first big responsibility, and everyone was watching. The day before the event, a sudden storm hit the city. Several delivery trucks got delayed, and one of the food suppliers canceled at the last minute. Panic spread among the staff. "We'll have to postpone," someone said. But Maya refused to give up. "No," she said firmly. "Those families are counting on us. We can't let them go hungry." She quickly rallied the volunteers, found a smaller local supplier, and even used part of her own savings to arrange backup supplies. All night, she and Allie packed boxes in the foundation's storage room, working until their hands ached. By morning, when the first rays of sunlight broke through the clouds, everything was ready. The event was a success. Dozens of children ran around laughing, families received food and clothes, and hope filled the air like music. Henry stood in the background watching Maya lead with confidence and kindness. Later, Eleanor walked up beside him. "Look at her, Henry," she whispered. "That girl has changed the entire mood of this place." Henry smiled. "Yes, she's not just helping others, she's reminding all of us why we started this work." As the event ended, an elderly man approached Maya, tears in his eyes. "My family had nothing for 2 days," he said, his voice trembling. "You gave us food and dignity. May God bless you, child." Maya's throat tightened. She knelt slightly and held his hand. "Sir, it's not just me. There are many people here who care." The man smiled. "Maybe, but it takes one heart to start a wave." That night, as the foundation staff celebrated, those who had doubted her earlier came forward to apologize. "We were wrong about you, Maya," one admitted. "You've earned this." Maya smiled humbly. "We all did this together." When Henry took the stage to thank the team, he paused and looked directly at her. "Sometimes," he said, "a single act of kindness in a grocery store can lead to hundreds of full stomachs."
Maya reminded us of that. Everyone applauded.
Maya's eyes filled with quiet tears of gratitude. She didn't know that her journey wasn't over yet. Life had one more twist waiting, one that would test the very faith and kindness she had built everything on. Weeks passed, and Maya's life continued to blossom. Her confidence grew, her brother's grades improved, and her name began to spread through the city's social circles as the girl who turned kindness into action. The Collins Foundation had doubled its outreach programs, and Henry often credited her compassion as the spark behind the organization's new vision. But as life often teaches, every blessing carries a test. One afternoon, as Maya was preparing reports in her small office, she received a call from the hospital. Her heart dropped. It was about Eleanor Collins, Henry's mother. She had collapsed during a community visit. Within minutes, Maya was rushing through hospital corridors, tears blurring her vision. Henry stood near the emergency ward, his face pale and worried. When he saw her, he managed a weak smile. "She'll be okay," he said, though his voice trembled. Maya took his hand gently. "She's strong. She'll fight through this." Hours passed before the doctor finally came out. "She's stable," he said, "but she needs rest and care." Relief flooded both their faces. Over the next few days, Maya visited Eleanor daily, bringing her flowers and reading stories to her. The bond they shared was beyond words, almost like the grandmother Maya had lost long ago. One afternoon, Eleanor smiled weakly from her hospital bed. "Maya, do you remember the day you helped me in that store?" Maya nodded, eyes misty. "I could never forget." Eleanor chuckled softly. "That day you saved more than just me. You reminded my son what kindness truly means. He was growing tired of people's greed, losing faith in good hearts. You gave him back his hope." Maya felt her throat tighten. "And you gave me back my life." A tear rolled down Eleanor's cheek. "That's the beauty of kindness, dear. It always comes back." A month later, Eleanor recovered fully, and the foundation decided to host a special annual event called the Kindness Day, dedicated to celebrating unsung heroes from poor communities. Henry wanted Maya to lead it. The hall was filled with people from every walk of life, families helped by the foundation, volunteers, city officials, and media representatives. As Maya stepped onto the stage, applause thundered through the room. She took a deep breath and began. "A year ago, I was a poor girl counting coins in a grocery store. I thought I had nothing to give to the world. But that day, when I saw an elderly woman being humiliated, I learned something. Kindness isn't about wealth, it's about courage." The courage to stand up even when you're small. The crowd listened in silence, moved by her sincerity. Henry watched from the front row, pride shining in his eyes. Maya continued. That one act changed everything. It gave me a family, a purpose, and a chance to help others. But more than anything, it taught me that no good deed ever dies, it multiplies. At that moment, Eleanor, sitting nearby, wiped her tears and smiled. The hall erupted in applause. Cameras flashed, children cheered, and Maya felt her heart overflow with gratitude. When the ceremony ended, Henry approached her quietly. You've made us all proud, Maya. My mother was right about you. You're the heart of this foundation now. Maya smiled through her tears. I didn't do it alone. You both believed in me when no one else did. Henry nodded, then said softly, You believed first. That's what made all the difference. That evening, as Maya walked home with her brother, she passed by the same grocery store where it had all begun. The familiar shelves, the same old cashier, even the faint hum of chatter, it all came rushing back. A young woman at the counter was struggling to pay for her groceries. The cashier sighed impatiently. Maya smiled and stepped forward. Add her bill to mine, she said gently, placing a few notes on the counter. The woman looked at her in shock. You don't have to do that, ma'am. Maya smiled. I know, but someone once did it for me. As she walked away, the warm evening light framed her figure. In her heart, she felt Eleanor's words echo again. Kindness always comes back. That night, as Kindness Tales Live wrapped up the story for its viewers, the narrator's voice filled the screen with emotion. Sometimes, the smallest act of kindness can start a chain reaction that changes lives forever, be the reason someone believes in goodness again. So if this story touched your heart, hit the like button and subscribe to Kindness Tales Live, because together, we can make the world a little warmer, one kind act at a time.